Hello, everyone. Welcome to KMD Information Session Online. This session focuses on the project called Geist. But before we go into Geist project in detail, I hope you had a chance to watch my video that explains about KMD. Just in case if you didn't have time to do so, KMD is about a place of innovation and creativity. You may know that the Davos annual meeting this year is happening right now online. And the topic of interest is, of course, the Great Reset, where we want to transform the society from the old normal to the new normal. It's still ongoing, but we hope our near future is much brighter and sustainable. KMD would like to make contributions in designing and implementing the new normal and beyond. So we are a group of people with futuristic thinking and skill set to envision and show the future, such as 2030 or 2040. KMD is using a diverse group of people, not only students, but also faculties on board. So let me ask Kai, our professor, and two students, Michi and Kirill, to join me. So everyone, please turn on your mic and video.
Hey, hello.
Hello, great. Yeah, nice to see you. And so before we talk about Geist, Professor Kunze is German, but part of us right now. And so he sees from a foreign faculty perspective about KMD. How would you describe about KMD?
I think it's quite a unique place to work and to interact. I think all of our professors are, I think, odd ones and strange people, also including me. I think compared to kind of also German, US, and also kind of working in France. I think KMD is quite special in a way that everybody has their unique ideas, their expertise, but we're working together, and it's quite a diverse community. So it's not only the technical folks like Minamisawa Sensei, who's an expert in haptics, or myself, who's working in computer science and wearable computing, but also you, who has background in film and now working in play, also tangible interactions where we can interact a little bit, but also business, psychology, and other backgrounds. And I think that's quite the unique part of KMD, that we really try to then tackle something in a holistic approach, not just kind of publishing papers or doing business plans, but trying to combine them.
Interesting. So do you get to collaborate with other faculties?
Yeah, I mean, that's the main point, I think, at KMD, because we don't really have our own labs. We don't really have our own kind of space, but we really try to work together. Also, kind of you taking the lead, and it's, I think, sometimes hard because kind of it's nicer, of course, if you have your own little space, your own little world where you can go into, because you don't get that much criticism, and kind of it's also easier for students if they just have to listen to one professor. I mean, now the interim presentations come up, and I see again, kind of fighting with students, because what I advise them is not what other professors are saying. But overall, I think, kind of that is giving the unique experience, and that gives the unique possibility to collaborate and do something really, really cool. So especially also in the art or dance collaboration. So recently we just worked on a larger scale art installment, actually, where we use physiological sensing and we bring it on stage, and we try to combine and link physiology and kind of really, I think, top computer science research with art and performances. And that's kind of, I think, I don't know how many researchers, 10 or 15 researchers here are actually then involved and over all of our real projects distributed.
Great, thank you. So let's see how students are looking at KMD. Michi, would you like to go first?
Okay. I think my view of the KMD is that I think it's one of the most rare places where you can actually experience diversity in Japan. For example, there are classmates with a musical background who's interested in VR to facilitate multi-learning, language learning. And there's others that are with architecture background who is working on HCI research. So I think it's not just academic disciplines that is diverse, but also people, which makes the university experience much more interesting and fulfilling than, in my opinion, yes. And
Thank
I
you.
think yes, yeah.
Yeah. So you also were part of our Global Innovation Design Program, which
Yes.
is a program that you physically going to the journey to London and New York. Of course, with the COVID-19 outbreak, the journey was terminated in the middle. But nevertheless, I think you were able to spend time in London, at least. How do you see Global Innovation Design Program, and then how do you see KMD within the design community?
I think for me, GID was something that I didn't really expect, not just because of COVID-19, but also the whole experience was it's just before you have certain ideas about design, but once you start your journey, GID journey, then you realize that your ideas about design is very narrow, because throughout GID, you are kind of encouraged to apply certain aspects of design into social issues, or some kind of creative domain. So it's even someone with a design background, you realize that a design is much more than just problem solving, but also it's a way to expand the world for others and yourself.
Mm.
And I think, yeah. Yeah.
That's great. Okay, thank you. So we have another student, Kirill.
Yep.
You have an interesting background. So
Yeah.
KMD unfortunately is still in a very restricted mode of campus access, and you are one of the few who gets the access today. So maybe we can begin, can you show with your camera what it is like at the laboratory space?
Yeah, so actually that's kind of to erase some of the doubts that people might have that the new normal and how do people actually work and get projects happen. I'll be a positive shining example that actually things are still going on and we do have access to the facilities. They're kind of messy because nobody was around to maintain anything, but you can see the lab equipment, the laser cutter, 3D printer, all our electronics area and everything. And yeah, it's still possible to actually come on in and get the work done, being obviously careful and maintaining the distance and everybody kind of isolating their own chunks of time. But that's really good, because if you look at what's happening in other places in the world, I feel like we're really lucky here that we get this opportunity to explore our interesting ideas that we have.
Yeah, so the room that you just showed is actually quite spacious. It can be packed up to like 20 or 30 students, but right now I think we are limiting to 4 to 6, I believe.
Yeah, it was 4. It was 6. Now it's limited to 4 to be even extra careful. Yeah, but yeah, it's still good that it's possible to actually get the work done, because everybody wasn't certain in 2020. And so I think coming in 2021, we kind of actually, I feel, figured out how to, or so we're still in the process of figuring out how to do this work, because we're doing Zoom, we're doing like a lot of different things, and in-person meetings and experiments are a bit more challenging, but it's really, I feel it's a good positive sign coming forward that we're still trying and nothing stands in place.
Yeah. So back to the topic of interest from student perspective, how do you see KMD as a foreign student coming into Japan? And yeah, go ahead.
Well, I guess it's kind of first thing I should mention, it's interesting because when you talk to people who came to KMD, or why did you choose KMD and what did you think, everybody keeps mentioning how different it felt, even from the outsider perspective before coming here, how different the image of a KMD is across other universities that are present here. And then when you actually come in, and even if you do get a chance to actually maybe talk to people who study in different universities, Tokyo University, Waseda, the environment here is something completely unique. And I think it's the only place in Tokyo, and maybe even in Japan in general, that provides this kind of, it's both like cross-disciplinary and cross-cultural. So there are always different people coming in, different ideas floating around, and that's something really special, and it's hard to replicate. Just seeing like looking at what other places trying to attempt. So that's one thing. So it's kind of, it has this diverse image. But even if, so I personally came here specifically, I was interested in doing the GID, so kind of combining the Japanese experience with the international and seeing how it's like, well, what would it flow into? And I was happy enough before this whole COVID era to actually do like go through the experience, and I was super happy that KMD provided me with such opportunity, because it's hard to explain. It's a lot of events and a lot of topics and a lot of people packed into a very relatively short amount of time. You can think about 2 semesters, but they actually fly by pretty fast. And so trying to think on this global stage, being part of on one side of KMD, but then meeting people in London and meeting people in New York and everybody collaborating together and trying to come up with ideas, bringing their own like unique backgrounds. That was something that's really special, and I was really happy that I was able to do.
Yeah. Global Innovation Design Program, from its inception, we wanted to have 3 locations come together and use this kind of remote connectivity for student team to work together. And that was seen as a tremendous value, but also a really strong pain, because in those times before COVID-19 outbreak, everyone could actually meet if you're in the same physical location.
Yeah.
But now, GID has proven that well, you can still collaborate if you know how to make use of these connectivity.
Sure. Well, one thing I want to mention is kind of, it's more relevant for like the previous normal, but even coming forward, I guess even for the people who don't partake in any of the proper GRD, or we have SEMS, also KMD being part of the kind of economics and management program connecting a lot of universities, even if students from KMD decide to not join these activities, students from other universities still do come in, and they do bring those backgrounds here. And so it's kind of a mini GAD or a mini SEMS experience for just normal local students who are interested in pursuing the activities purely in Japan. And it's still, it's something really unique. And I'm really, I think it's a very, very strong point of KMD. And so now maybe with online and like travel a bit restricted, it's not such, but I'm pretty sure that it's going to continue. And the moment vaccines are out and kind of social environments change, we'll still get back to this connection with other countries and other students. It's something that's
great. Okay,
has a lot of value.
Let's move from topic of KMD to more specifically to Geist. Kai, what is Geist? It's a German word, right?
Yeah, it's a German word. Geist means on one hand ghost, but can also mean mind or kind of inner workings or feeling. You probably know the term Zeitgeist. It's an English term that has also Geist in it. And we came to it from the word perspective, from this idea of we want to explore the mind or what's going on in ourselves. So in terms of feelings and expressions, it comes from, you can take two ideas that we try to mesh together. Is one is Ghost in the Shell, so more or less the animation, and the other one is Gilbert Ryle's Ghost in the Machine, so more from the philosophy side, where he showed that in a book at the time, he showed that the Descartes' dualism doesn't really hold. Doesn't make sense to kind of split the mind with away from the body. So, you know, kind of we're trying to combine mind and body, and we're doing projects that are in that field. I think at the beginning, because of also my background in variable computing, being, I think now nearly 20 years in that field and doing tech development there, it was mostly tech focused, but we're slowly moving also depending on the students or so on also to other fields. And we're trying to explore first on the sensing side mind and these type of more abstract concepts, and then also influence either products or also research and trying to move, you know, kind of these things on several fronts together. And recently, as I mentioned before, also more interested in, I would say, arts, performing arts, and understanding this link between individuals like us talking right now, you know, kind of over Zoom. It's very different than previous info sessions where we were all in one room and could, you know, kind of easier interact. And what does it mean, you know, kind of right now? Yeah, you see a little bit of my hands, you see a little bit of our faces and eyes and so on, but the interaction is still different. We cannot easily understand what is going on. Nonverbal clues are not there. So how can we first of all, how can we understand that, you know, kind of on a computing side, but also then in a second part, how can we maybe also enable new ways of communication when we are restricted like that, or, you know, kind of when this new normal hits us?
So your project group is developing many unique technologies from my perspective. And you have very interesting students, especially today, Kirill and Michi. They joined the Global Innovation Design Program, more focusing on design than technology. How do you work with students that comes from non-technology or non-engineering background? Because your research papers are published in highly technical academic community.
Yeah, so that's always a challenge. And at the beginning, I mean, it's always actually every time hard in April when students come in, or in September, to actually get non-technical students. Because they saw, I think now it's working better because now we have actually a broader spread, and we're also collaborating with other real projects in terms of non-technical students, and there are now also a couple with non-technical background there. But I think for me, this mix really is the unique factor of KMD and also of Geist, that you have people that have their, you know, kind of expertise niche, for example, George, one of our researchers who also did a PhD, who's doing now a lot of the sensing work, or other students like Michi and Kirill, that have their unique expertise level, technical or non-technical, and then come together and discuss and try to enable a more open and free mindset in terms of what we want to achieve. And in that case, it's actually for me often that I should just stay back a little bit. Beforehand, you know, we had open workshops and so on, where we would just introduce a technology and then people would come up with interesting ideas on how to use it. Now it's a little bit more difficult, but it still kind of works in a similar fashion. We just had, unfortunately, due to COVID, it's also locked down, but we just had an idea for using Kirill's thermal technology. So it's more or less a thermal headset that gives you a feeling of warmth and cold on your face for collaboration with the GID student that is currently or was currently stuck in Turkey for pain relief for cancer patients. Unfortunately, it didn't happen because now also the hospital in Turkey are locked down. But it gives you a little bit of an idea, kind of she came into our meetings and we were discussing about topics, and she found that really interesting, and then got down the rabbit hole of thinking about, can't we apply this to a hospital near us, and so on. So this is a little bit, I think, the unique factor of KMD, and then also Geist, and I'm trying to replicate what I also saw from you and Minamisawa Sensei and other professors, to give this open space where you can discuss a problem, where you can come up with ideas, where you can try to use some of the technology from other students or other researchers together with them and figure out something fairly new.
Okay, so thank you. Michi,
Yes.
back to you. So how do you see Geist? And why did you choose Geist to begin with?
The reason for my decision to choose Geist was that I had a interest in academic research, and I thought Geist was a place where I could pursue my academic research interest. Also, I wanted to have a freedom to explore my research interest the way I want it to be, and so Geist also offered that. So yes, those were the two reasons why I chose Geist.
Did you have a engineering or technology background?
Yes, I did. Before joining KMD, I worked as both digital designer and engineer, mostly on web products. So yes.
That was not an issue then.
Yes, but after I joined KMD, I realized that academic and computer science and the engineering you do in industry is quite different.
That's true.
Yes.
That's very true. Yeah.
So you need a whole set of new expertise to get into academic research.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what kind of research are you doing? I know that you're almost done.
Yes. For my master's, I did a research called human-plant interaction, where I explore synchronizing human eye blink data and plant health. And the point for collecting eye blink data is for measuring your fatigue levels. So by synchronizing your fatigue levels with your plant health, you kind of it kind of facilitates you to objectively see your fatigue level, so you can kind of get insights into how you can improve your subjective well-being through plants, I guess.
So how's your plants right now? Are they happy?
It's quite healthy. Yes. I mean, during my thesis writing period, my plant was kind of unstable because I was, but yes, it's
Okay.
healthy now.
Yeah. Good. So from students' life perspective, doing research on the Geist project, how busy are you normally? Of course, there might be some peak periods that you are very busy, thesis submission deadlines or academic paper submission deadlines. But in general, what kind of lifestyle do you get to have weekends? Do you enjoy doing other things?
It's entirely up to you. For me, mostly I had a my schedule was quite open. I had time to explore new fields. Like I was interested in machine learning, so I studied that. It's the only time that I was sleep deprived was when I was writing my thesis and doing my research. But other than that, it's it's entirely up to you. You have your weekends and you have time to explore the city. And yes.
One thing I noticed, it is exactly true that it's really up to students how you manage time, and your skill of time management is really the key of sustaining your health as well. Some students get too much devoted into the project and doing things over the weekend, late at night, and then you get super exhausted. But if you can do time management really well, you can enjoy different things other than KMD life. That's great. Great to know. Kirill.
Yes.
I see you always in hacking studio at KMD facility, regardless of this lockdown. I know that you're one of the extreme ones that's devoted into the projects. How's your student life? Do you get to do other things than KMD?
Not recently, because I was also really occupied with my PhD thesis, so it was a bit intense. But now I'm actually after defense, now I'm more or less stabilizing and getting back to doing the projects and kind of picking up the work which was kind of left dusting. But no, honestly, the reason you see me here is because I feel, especially bringing back from the GID question, it's something that people kind of, you get to really appreciate the space that KMD provides, and you see what other institutions do in order to facilitate student collaboration and provide certain equipment and facilities. As much as I loved London and RCA and everything, the fact that you had to book everything in advance and you had to have a rigid plan and a super precise schedule for even the minuscule things that you had to do really came in the way of doing so. And so KMD having this hacking studio space, which is kind of, it can be quite messy or it can be quite organized, but it can be this engineering design prototyping area where you can just pop in and actually continue working at your own pace. And if you're like an intense worker as I am, you can just narrow down and find the times to like do amazing things in a really short amount of time, which what I've been trying to do.
Okay, so you just mentioned your PhD. You're almost done with PhD, hopefully. So, what kind of research were you doing for your doctorate?
Well, so generally speaking, my interest, even during GID, I developed this interest towards this immersive space of mixed reality, augmented reality, virtual reality. And I tried exploring different ideas at the time of my master's. And so coming into PhD, I really wanted to explore what we can achieve with modern, new, innovative technology in the space and see how we can improve it. And my particular research focused on the kind of physiological experiences, the idea of trying to actually bring, so if you think about it, we have just visual kind of stimuli and things, and we simulate these amazing 360 experiences. And now the next natural step is actually trying to kind of bring our physicality into this digital realm and try to interact with it in spatial matter, and kind of try to not forget that we're human beings, where we have this physiology, and it's really a lacking component in these types of experiences. So in my research, I focused a lot on temperature, a little bit on vibration, but try to activate these inherent human senses in different experiences, and tried simulating a variety of applications and demonstrating it in like various public events and conferences, and really providing something immersive, something exciting, something kind of that stimulates the imagination and really shows kind of a glimpse into the future, which we should strive towards. That's basically a little pitch for what it was.
Okay.
I was doing.
Did you have background in engineering or computer science prior to KMD?
Yeah, actually, it'd be a good balance if I told I didn't, but no, I also, similar to Michi, I had a background prior also actually doing web products. So part of the reason why I joined Geist, because people with who do have technical backgrounds, when you come to KMD, usually they tend to alternate between like Geist or embodied media, because both of these real projects kind of empower these, like put the technology on front, and then we kind of go backwards from there. And so, yeah, I did have a technological background, but I haven't been doing anything even remotely close to what I did in KMD. So coming from web and interfaces and these type of products to immersive wearable electronics and 360 technology, it's been a complete shift. So that's had to develop a complete different set of skills, and kind of night and day between these worlds. So although the background is there, I had to actually pick the skills up while I was in KMD, and it changed me.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Anyways.
So, Kai, what's going on with Geist project right now? Any sneak preview of the latest work coming up?
So I think the most interesting collaboration that we're working on right now is then related to the dance performance that I mentioned before. Also, so actually for the TEI, the Tangible Embodied Interaction Conference, we got a paper accepted. So this is a collaboration from Embodied Media and Geist. And actually, I should say, because we try to figure out the good mix for the session right now with the students. So, you know, kind of, I thought Michi, a Japanese student with design would be good, and Kirill for being from Russia and having the international background of though both of them are technical, so it's always hard to find, you know, kind of a real mix. But then for the collaboration we're doing right now with Embodied Media, actually the lead is a dancer, Moe. So she has completely no technical background, but that was great to come into the project because she could really facilitate the collaboration to the choreographer and to Session House, which we worked with in this dance performances that just happened before the lockdown, actually last year. So we worked with them for 2 years on integrating physiological sensing. At the beginning, we used Jin's meme, you know, the smart eyewear that we use and we developed together with Jin's. But then later on, we moved to wristbands that we made for ourselves. So I should say George and Ding Ding, so 2 students, a psychology student and a computer science student made together. And a couple of others actually collaborating. And then we record heart rate and galvanic spin response. That gives you stress and excitement from the audience. And then this is put onto stage by visual designers to project something on the floor and on the walls, and also by an audio designer, Danny, that transforms this into audio. And then the dancers can actually react to it in real time. So we are trying to eliminate this fourth wall or this distance that is usually between dancers and audience. And I think that's a really nice idea, and it is a really nice project. You can check out, I think you can find online, if you Google Boiling Mind, you will find a short video of the performance, and you can get a slight impression on what this feels like. And there will be a presentation during TEI. I think we'll put up something also on our website to check the video. And then if you think about a sneak peek on the future, you know, kind of, you can see we have now the data recordings from this. And we can use this, and we are now working on how can we bring the same type of feeling, this connectedness, this synchrony that happens between people and the audience that we also see in the data. So your heart rate synchronizes, your breathing synchronizes. If you see something exciting, how can we bring this to a place that we are right now? You know, kind of how can we share this mutual performance in novel ways using physiological sensing in this world where we just currently talk to 2D screens, unfortunately. So that's maybe a little bit of a sneak peek what is coming next.
Right. Yeah, well, that's exciting because everyone enjoys Zoom sessions, but also frustrated by Zoom sessions because of this lack of emotional interactivity and not able to fully understand each other. And also, as Kirill mentioned, the lack of the tangibility of we live in the physical world, regardless we are immersed in the screen world, and we need to come up with the next generation of Zoom or video conferencing system that allows us to go closer beyond screen media. So
that's one thing. The other thing that I also want to emphasize is what I always see, kind of for people that work on technology, like, kind of look at Fitbit, the step counters, or other, kind of, I think Microsoft had a big problem now with Teams and with Word, because they use their software for spying on workers, for spying on remote workers. I always see this kind of sensing technology, face recognition. You can go also for physiological signals or so on, mostly used to invade privacy or to kind of look into people's habits, and nobody can really make sense of it. Kind of they do some kind of very basic classifications, and I always feel, hey, there is actually more. Kind of we can find cool application areas for this sensing technology that are not kind of not mostly profit driven in the first case, but think a little bit about it and get more creative with the uses of the technology, and don't hinder people, and don't kind of try to just surveil or supervise them.
Yeah, that's very important. Everyone feels technology dominance, has lots of worries, such as the privacy issues and surveillance. That's very true. So let's look at some questions that we received from the audience. Just in case, if you're watching this in real time and would like to pose some questions to us, please type in, and your question will appear on my screen, and I will read out, and we'll try to answer your questions. So let me see what we have here right now. Are there any specific skills I should get before joining Geist project? Yeah, so I meant to find from students that, oh, I have no technology background, and I jumped in, but I think most of them already have a strong engineering or computer science skills when they join Geist. But Kai, what would you say? Do they need engineering or computer science background?
Of course not. And I mean, it depends always on what you want to do, and you shouldn't be afraid to learn new skills. I mean, yeah, both Michi and Kirill had some computer science or technical background, but actually did something completely different from what they were doing beforehand. And you have a little bit of background, but that shouldn't hinder you. The example that I always bring up, and he joined, I think, also for one of the past sessions years ago, was Masa. He had finance background, for example, and then went on a PhD actually in computer science. Now works for NTNT and made also his own glasses, his own smart glasses that understand facial expressions. So that's one example that worked out fine. Also Moe, the dancer and designer that I mentioned before. However, you shouldn't be scared about trying out new technology. You should, you should be able to fail fast, and understand and learn from your failures. And I think then you will be okay. And with, kind of the help of colleagues and friends that can tell you what to focus on, what to do next, I think that's completely, kind of not a problem at all. And I think really also joining Geist actually as a non-technical student with an expertise in music and arts or in some other type of field, it's really important for us, because we don't want to be just another computer science lab, but we want to do interesting and cool stuff. And that's something I now really understand that you cannot achieve if you don't have diversity.
If I may add a bit of points in this level, it's not important about thinking what skills you should learn coming here, but rather focus on the area which you wish to explore. And then once you arrive, once you actually join, the skills that are necessary for it will kind of naturally, you'll develop them over time. So it's more important to actually think about maybe the area of application or the area of research that's really exciting to you and that's something that you really want to contribute to, and then start from there.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's not only about Geist, but then KMD in general. It's more important that you have a vision and willingness to learn and curiosity for exploration. KMD doesn't provide you all these skill sets and answers to your questions. Faculties are co-worker with you to co-invent, but also going through this adventure of defining the future, and there's no one right answer. So we're on the same boat, exploring together. And it is important students will have a skill of collaboration and willingness of collaboration and willingness to explore and accept failure. As Kai mentioned, failing fast and failing multiple times is the best way to learn things. So I think it's more of a mindset than hard skills that they should come with at KMD. Kai, would you agree?
Yeah, and adding to that, I think also what Kirill said in terms of having a vision, not being too rigid on the vision, because kind of also for me, I have to say every time I start a new thing, every time I start a new direction, I'm way too stupid, I'm way too naive to really understand the complexity, and just over time, kind of the complexity actually hits you. And then you are happy that you can collaborate with other people, but that also requires a kind of openness, and not kind of just saying, oh, I really just want to do this little tiny thing, but listening to feedback, listening to the different voices. And as I said, I mean, it's always challenging also for me right now, for interim preparing students for their presentation, and then having to deal with that maybe the other professor gave completely different advice. But we are learning also from each other, and that's also something, kind of, I don't think we are here. I think none of our professors are really teaching, but as you said, we're really, kind of learning. We are on the journey together, and I feel that makes also the biggest difference. And I feel that students who incorporate that mindset early on, they come with their interest. They're not too strict and a little bit open for sidetracking, but they have their idea on where they want to contribute, and maybe what community they want to be in later. These are usually the best to work with, and that's not kind of defining any type of background or anything that they learned before.
Yeah. So from my experience of leading KMD for now 12 years, almost, or more. I think some students come with a very solid background in certain areas, even lots of professional working experience. They're sometimes more important to unlearn than to learn. If you can't unlearn and dismiss your previous results and know-hows, it might not go forward. Especially at the time of this rapid change or radical change right now, from the old normal to new normal. We're not interested in sort of an incremental improvement of the past. We're expected to design something completely new, and that requires a very different approach and different way of thinking. And so unlearning is super important. Anyway, so let's move on to the next question, which mostly involve these two students. Both students went to GID. What are the differences they felt in the way design is taught in each of the locations? Starting from Michi.
Well, I would say KMD and RCA are sort of similar in their approaches to teaching design, but I think the latter has more focus on artistic explorations. And I felt that the design taught at RCA is more focused on intervention, design as an intervention, as opposed to KMD, where it sees design as a problem solving. Mm-hmm. And also for Pride, I think it's quite different from the other two. For example, the concept of prototyping is quite different. Like while KMD and RCA share a similar idea about prototyping, Pride places more importance on physicality of the prototype. Yeah,
Mhm,
so
mhm.
and they kind of prefer student not to focus on digital aspects, but more about excluding it, I guess.
Mm.
Maybe because KMD student has some kind of technical background, I guess.
Yeah, but that makes multiple lenses of what design might mean, as you
Exactly.
mentioned
Yes.
earlier. Yeah,
Yes.
great. Kirill, what would you say to this question?
Ooh, that's what a question. No, it's actually, if you look at all three institutions, everybody has a completely different take on what design is, and so it's really important that we stay in this kind of globally stay in touch and communicate with each other, because KMD, I think it's safe to say, it probably is the most technologically focused out of the three. We really try to, or at least I'm slightly biased because I'm also in a technological project, but we do see the value of innovation, and Japan has this international image of technologically advanced country, which is kind of leading its economy forward. So here we'll really try to merge these technical trends into something useful for the society, and seeing how design can be applied in this kind of fashion, kind of streamlining technical innovation into social impact. In RCA and Imperial, it's more, I would say it's what I've witnessed was more systematic, maybe even like a bit more theoretical, but really analyzing structures and seeing which elements of certain systems, whether it be a company or a social hierarchy or different processes, which kind of points do your designs address. So seeing from simple things, starting as like a touch point of an object to intervention places in the system, to seeing really what is the impact of a design as a whole. So it really has this kind of a bit of a global vision for your designs, and makes you really think what are you trying to achieve with it. And Pratt, when you come to it, is a completely different world, and especially coming from a background that is not related to what Pratt teaches, it's really challenging, because even the way of teaching, from having all the presentations done on posters and orally rehearsed every week by week, and then making things with your hands all the time, doesn't matter what your background is. You have a set of 3D models that you need to like make out of clay and present and develop the concept from it, and you just got to do it. Or it's a lot of hands-on work, and it's really challenging. But like seeing on these three institutions together, I think this is where the interesting parts come out. Each one has really something memorable and interesting to contribute to what design is.
Yeah. I mean, if all the institutions are more or less the same, then why travel? You can stay here. Yeah. Okay. So one last question perhaps is, in which kind of industry or career do Geist project students work after graduating from KMD? Kai, maybe you can start, and then if Kirill and Michi are brave enough to discuss and share your future plan, I would love to hear. But if you don't want to, that's fine too. But Kai, so from your past students.
Yeah, so that's, I think, for each of our real projects, it's a very wide range. So some, thinking about or started their own company, some others. So some, of course, join some of our collaborators. So we're working with NTT. So Masa continued for PhD in computer science, then later on also not with us, but stayed in contact, and we collaborated, and he actually now works for NTT. There's another student, Shimi, one of the first Geist students. He's working in Sony HCI. So it's a wide range kind of. Also, we have a couple of students that joined design or consulting companies here in Tokyo. Others stay in research. Pai, my first PhD student, is now in New Zealand. He's actually quite happy because New Zealand is COVID-free. And I shouldn't say, but we also outsourced a lot of our experimental setups, because we work a lot with the human-computer interaction work, where you really have to have users in a place or close to students or users, and we outsourced a lot of that work to New Zealand, working with Pi a little bit. He's working now in AR with Mark Billinghorst. So these are more the technical side, but others also joined Jeans, the glasses company that we work with, also on HR or marketing. So it really also depends on the individual student, and if they can find their community. We often try to figure out for each individual person, what do you want to do later? How can you develop your passion maybe into something that is viable also in terms of finances, so you can really work on something that you like, and also how to have a kind of work-life balance if you work on something that you like, because that's also often quite tricky. So trying to fit into this and trying to help people on their path towards hopefully some future they enjoy and some career they enjoy.
Great, thank you. So Michi and Kirill, are you brave enough to share your future plan?
For me, I'm pursuing PhD study. So I'll be studying for another few years. But after that, hopefully I get to work as a research engineer, because I'm interested in intersection of research and industries.
Excellent, thank you.
I'll be a bit more ambitious. So temporarily, I'm still technically finishing my PhD, and even afterwards, I'm currently planning to stay at least temporarily to wrap up the projects which have been left from the previous year and kind of had to be postponed due to COVID and everything. But I personally have my own entrepreneurial ambitions, so which is the reason I kind of value this type of space, which provides the opportunity to explore different things and kind of try to play with innovative technology and see whether there's actually a problem that you can solve really for the market, and try to see if we can commercialize it. So I think there are quite a few really exciting, really innovative ideas that we're working with even here within Geist, and I would like to explore the opportunity to see whether they can be stirred into an industrial angle if possible, and if not, then the ambitions remain. And let's talk in a couple of years.
Yeah. Well, good luck, both of you. That's brilliant ideas, academic pursuit and also entrepreneurial pursuit. Both of them are part of KMD for sure. Yeah, great. All right, so I think we're running out of time. Maybe very briefly, last a few words from each one of you to say something to the participants, audience, who might be looking into KMD as a next destination. So maybe starting from Kirill, because you're on the screen.
All right, so it'd be good to know who I'm actually speaking to, but I guess as a bit of advice, especially for somebody considering joining KMD and considering pursuing whether it be a master's degree or a PhD degree, to really, anybody who kind of, it's not an easy decision to make. So everybody who contemplates it, at least I think it'll be really useful if they could see a vision for kind of giving themselves freedom for exploration that KMD can enable. So to see what they want to explore, and maybe they had a job and they would like to merge out into something completely different, like I did, or maybe they're just trying to strengthen their skills for an industry, but really try to see kind of what this type of innovative cross-cultural environment can bring them, and really think about it. Because once you come in, like, some people have problems defining it, or they only then start defining it, or they spend a couple of years. And if you can think about it before joining, then you would get the best out of the experience, regardless of which project you choose to join. And it's also, it'd be much easier for us who are here to talk with people who can already define their vision of what they're trying to achieve, and to see, regardless of the background, which they're coming from, but really to see kind of how we can combine our visions and really come up with something unique and innovative. So yeah, just think a little bit extra hard about where you want to go.
Great, thank you. Michi?
My advice to those who are considering entering KMD is kind of overlaps with what Kirill said. Yeah, and I would encourage students to don't be afraid to explore what KMD can offer. Sometimes it's kind of hidden, so you kind of have to wade through kind of those maze, I guess. It can feel like you're in a maze, but it's KMD has so many to offer, and I think if you find people who can offer that, and your idea of the world can also expand. So I think and I see many students kind of failing to explore opportunity at KMD, not just because of COVID, but there are kind of some students kind of confined to their comfort zone. But I think once you explore pipeline courses, which are introductory classes you do in masters, first years of masters, and you're forced to dive into go outside of the comfort zone, and I think it's something you'll find it really interesting, but also challenging. But I would encourage you to continue that avenue, I guess.
Great, thank you. And Kai?
Yeah, I think my advice, I think also resonates well with what Kirill and Michi said, in terms of if you want to join, it's good if you have, a kind of a passion. And I have that offer. You can also, kind of easily contact us beforehand. So also professors or so on, we are happy to discuss with you, especially also in the COVID times when it's not sure, what the situation on campus is and so on. But on that level, it's often, what I get is often, oh, I saw this in this project and this is so cool and I want to do the same thing. And then I always feel, yeah, no, that's not really what we want to do, because we already did that project. And then also it's not like, kind of, I'm mostly, it's hard to say, but I'm mostly standing back, kind of, yeah, I'm trying to provide the opportunity for people to do, but I won't teach you how to do that particular project that really came from the individual people that were together and worked on it. So then, kind of going a little bit out of your comfort zone, building up your own expertise, and using the expertise of other students and see how you can combine them together. I think that's a good start. And then, kind of having some idea where you want to go. It doesn't have to be too clear, but it's important that, kind of you can take this opportunity to learn something completely new and learn something, kind of expertise-wise in the 3 years. And the 3 years are enough time to build that up and also work on really cool projects, but being a little bit open and not trying to stick to what you were working in the past, or also what you saw in the past from the individual projects or people at KMD.
Yeah, exactly. I think so. All right, so the time is almost up. Thank you very much for joining the information session, and perhaps we might see each other in person in the future at one of the KMD facilities. So this is it for today. Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.